Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the 13th episode of the Overanalysts podcast, bringing you silly and serious discussions surrounding gaming as a culture and an industry. Every week, most of the time, sometimes. Hi, I'm Brady Duncan, or the Overanalyst, on Twitch and associated platforms, and I'm joined, as always, by my dear friends Martina, or Seth the Overwitch,
Hello.
and Mate, or Comrade Potato,
Howdy.
who is now boasting a bright and shiny new, 3D printed Aku Aku statuette, right?
Oh, it's almost done. It's almost done.
So cool. Can't wait to see it.
He has been complaining about the paints, though.
The paints are shit.
There we go.
They're like, oh yeah, oh no, now I see the brand, Immortal Unchained.
For everyone that has not followed Brady's Twitch channel, we have a new favorite game to bash. So Immortals Unchained is our number one game to bash now, taking dropping Cyberpunk to spot number 2.
Hold on, real quick, before we get into today's subject matter, which is, just for reference, ladies and gentlemen, going to be somewhat more serious than usual, I do want to read an excerpt from one of the handful of reviews of Immortal Unchained I could find. Here's a description. Immortal Unchained, a B-movie direct-to-TV ripoff of the Souls franchise, is the perfect candidate for this sort of smart pricing, like saying it should be around $25. It has an easy hook, Dark Souls with guns, and attractive visuals. Yet it's priced at a full fat $50. The world's gone a bit mad. I just like the description as a B-movie direct-to-TV rip of the Souls franchise. It's like if Tommy Wiseau made Dark Souls.
Let's not forget that the co-creator of the game came into Brady's stream and said they did not copy Dark Souls. Like, basically, he was acting like they've never heard of Dark Souls.
You can't compare them, they said.
Yeah.
By the way, you guys missed just something for the two of you. We did fight the third great big beast last night, and it was, a humanoid very slightly larger than our character that didn't do anything.
Oh, nice. Sounds exciting. So basically, we're fighting boredom.
No, it was the easiest fight in the entire game. I'm flabbergasted. Anyway, sorry. Immortal Unchained, very bad game. Check out my VODs if you want to see some gameplay of it, because I never want any of you lovely people out there to have to subject yourself to playing it yourselves.
We were bored watching it, but we endured it because we like Brady suffering, so...
Yeah, yes. as ever. Martina, why don't you go ahead and introduce today's topic, seeing as you originally suggested this episode?
So it seems that I am the one suggesting a bit darker topics on this channel, so we're gonna have to change that, otherwise I'm gonna get a reputation. Today's topic is going to be about mental health. Now, quite a big topic, considering we have been in lockdown for a bit over a year now.
Yeah.
So even people who have been absolutely healthy and dealing with their life in an amazingly good way are starting to feel the effects of their mental power deteriorating. So
Sure.
What we are going to look at today are video games that either have represented mental health issues in a good and cohesive way, or video games that helped us through some dark times. So yeah, I was thinking of structuring this podcast episode more like a conversation rather than facts tossing. And of course, if anyone listening here wants to add something or just get in touch with us, feel free to do so on our website, seththeoverwitch.com, or leave a comment on our YouTube channel, or even join any of our Discords, which we will leave the links, or our Twitch channel links down below, so you can get in touch.
Absolutely, please do.
So, right, when I say games that represent mental health issues, which games come to your mind?
So, I mean, right off the bat, so much of the discussion surrounding mental health or neurodivergence in video games and it being handled respectfully, or handled well, in this day and age immediately brings to mind Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, which is
Definitely.
on the darker, more serious side of presentation, but also later in this discussion, I would like for us to focus on Psychonauts, which
Mm-hmm.
handles. It's a zany, like mostly fun, bright and poppy action adventure game, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it also has been cited as like a game that handles not just mental health, but like sort of a generalized theory of mind really well. And I can discuss that later on. But those are the two that immediately like come to mind for me. NSR
Mm-hmm.
as well too. No Straight Roads kind of
Oh yeah.
handles interpersonal relationships and like the psychology that underpins them surprisingly well for a bright, happy action battle game. So,
Mm-hmm.
what
What
about you guys?
about you, Potato?
I don't know. Like, I'm thinking Limbo.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Limbo. Can you tell us a little bit about the game? Why do you think that's a good representative?
Well, it's just like, it's just the game just screams like depression and grief. It's just
Mm-hmm.
all
Yeah.
black and white. You're a tiny little person. It's just I don't know. To me, that's just a great representation of like what depression feels like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Definitely.
basically it kind of looks like the path of a person trying to overcome something that happened, dealing with
Mhm.
his grief, yeah, and fighting off his fears, mostly in the shape of that gigantic spider.
Horrifying.
Oh my
Absolutely
god,
horrifying.
that thing is just oh
But also, basically, you just have the ability to go right.
yeah,
So no going back, just going forwards. Push
yeah,
through.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, it's a way. I mean, it's of course a side-scrolling game, and that's how it is designed. But it kind of does have also um, like a subtle connotation about not going back.
yeah, no, and that's really trenchant, Mate, because as someone who I mean, I would assume, I think I have experienced bouts of depression in my life based on people's experiences and how they describe it. Um Something that a lot of people who are fortunate enough to have never been there don't necessarily understand is it's not so much about being sad, even though that's a part of it. It's about the overwhelming majority of the time not really feeling much of anything at all. Like
Exactly.
the color, the flavor of life is gone. And I think during this time,
Hmm.
like you said, Tina, quarantine, that's something a lot of people and experience, a lot of people are developing firsthand intimate knowledge of,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Exactly. And I want to make this one thing very, very clear. So, firstly, for people that don't know, I am diagnosed with depression and I've been dealing with it for a long period of time. A couple of years ago, I started getting medication as well.
Hmm.
So, I can tell you from firsthand experience that what you said is true. Depression is not the feeling of being sad or being hopeless, it's just the lack of any sort of emotion. You feel indifference towards anything. Yeah, best cure for depression, having a little puppy. Um, but yeah, my the games that come to my mind when it comes to mental health issues. First, of course, Hellblade,
Hmm.
which I was super excited to see that it's getting a sequel.
Yeah.
Um, and also Celeste.
Hmm.
Celeste is one game that really came basically out of nowhere and took the platforming world by storm. Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was one of those platformers that emphasized difficulty. But what a lot of people did not know going into the game was that the game is going to be also tackling some deeper subjects. So for those that don't know, the game basically shows a girl trying to, I think her name is Madeline,
Hmm.
trying to climb the mountain Celeste, which is kind of representing overcoming her problems, her issues, and throughout that climb, she's being basically attacked and tortured by a, the dark part of herself, which she called Battleline, I think. So
Yeah,
basically, just like a ghost of herself that is constantly telling her that no matter what she does, she's never gonna succeed, and that she should just quit because she's a failure and things like that.
hmm,
Mostly, basically, giving voice to emotions that all of us are suffering on a daily basis,
sure.
especially when you start like a new job or start like a new part of education, like going from high school to college, etc. You always get this feeling like I don't belong here, I'm the imposter, everyone is so much better than me, and that's a completely natural feeling.
Absolutely. It's called imposter syndrome. It's that
Exactly, yeah.
colloquial. Like in the academy, we
Mm-hmm.
recognize that that happens to more or less everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone struggles at some point or another with this feeling of, I don't belong here, I'm not good enough. And
Mm-hmm.
granted, at least in my field of work, there are people who overcompensate, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's so important that there's games and just media that show people that, hey, you're not the only one, or you're not one of a handful of people who goes through this. These
Mm-hmm.
are issues that we all struggle with, and maybe this is why I'm so glad we're going through kind of a mental health revolution right now. Maybe we shouldn't try to tackle these issues alone.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we should come together as a community and acknowledge that there are just, first off, some areas of society where we subject ourselves to a greater measure of stress or scrutiny than is necessarily healthy, and we should
Mm-hmm.
change that. But also that we shouldn't stigmatize anxiety or self doubt or
Yeah.
poor self image. We should work together to acknowledge that many of us, most of us, have struggled with these things,
Mm-hmm.
and that we can support each other to overcome them.
All right. So, what I wanted to say regarding what you said about mental health revolution. So, for those that don't know, I've been living in Croatia for about 20 years, and then I moved to Germany.
Hmm.
And I always felt that something is wrong with me, but unfortunately, in Croatia, there was always this stigma around mental health, because it was on the scale of either you're completely normal or you're a cuckoo. So
There
there
was a
was no,
binary.
yeah, exactly. Either you're crazy or you're absolutely normal. There is nothing in between. And I never thought, that I was crazy, but I definitely felt like there was something wrong. And until I got to Germany, I did not know what it was. Only in Germany I started getting diagnosed, started getting help, etc.
Hmm.
Because here, that is actually a completely normal thing. And when I went to like a clinic to get help and everything, I saw so many people queuing up. There were like the rooms were full. There were so many people in like the daily groups for help and stuff like that. It was incredible. I finally felt like, okay, I'm not alone. It seems like so many
Right.
people are having issues with that. So as you said, I'm also really happy that like this mental health revolution is kind of coming, and we are seeing it more and more talked about in mainstream media.
Of course.
So yeah, back to video games though. Would you like to give us like a short overview of Hellblade?
Yes, absolutely. Now keep in mind I've not played it. I've watched playthroughs though, so if
Mm-hmm.
there's gaps you can fill in, please
Yeah,
feel
yeah.
free to do so.
Mm-hmm.
Um What's brilliant about the game and its depiction of mental health, I think, well, first and foremost, they actually consulted with people who suffered from the disorders represented,
Mm-hmm.
as well as clinical psychologists,
Yeah.
right? So they wanted to present mental health problems or conditions in a way that was authentic and respectful, and I really appreciate that. But the game doesn't put this kind of like personal, like mental health narrative in the
Yeah.
forefront. Rather, the game presents itself, at least at first, as the journey of this like great warrior to free the souls, right, of her fiance and the people of her village from
Yeah.
the underworld after they're killed in this raid, right?
Yeah, exactly. Mostly, yes. So she's trying to free their souls, but also she wants to get her boyfriend back. She was told by the goddess Hela that if she manages to walk into hell, she can pull back her boyfriend.
Yes. And she has to venture through these various realms of the other world, or this
Mm-hmm.
supernatural world, to face off against, I want to say, largely Scandinavian or
Yeah.
largely Norse gods and goddesses,
Mm-hmm.
but also one Finnish deity, Valravan,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
god of illusion, who in
Exactly.
Finnish mythology I believe Valravan refers to an entire species of supernatural psychopomps,
Mm-hmm.
these birds that usher people to the
Yeah.
afterlife. But she's fighting through all of these different mythological or supernatural realms, kind of as an allegory for facing one's own demons,
Mm-hmm.
because the body shot is that um Senua, the protagonist, is suffering from, it's not exactly delusion, but uh,
Psychosis.
yeah, psychosis, following the not just the trauma of the raid that killed her people, but an extremely abusive childhood
Mm-hmm.
where she was deprived of social contact and physically abused at length by her father, who was
Mm-hmm.
like a fundamentalist, uh, kind of delusional druid.
Yeah.
And it's important to note, because it may be difficult to untangle the threads of the game's narrative at the end, like what the big message is. The game, or the purpose of its narrative, isn't to say, oh, all of the gods and the mythology and the spiritualism of all this was purely fictitious.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what they're saying. As far
Yeah.
as I'm aware, the game doesn't comment on spirituality directly at all.
Mm-hmm.
Rather, it's saying, look at how this one individual was impacted by horrific trauma and
Mm-hmm.
mental health issues, and look at how she used, or rather we used collectively, the symbolism, like the cultural lexicon of her world, to navigate through and understand them.
Mm-hmm.
um because ultimately, and correct me if I'm wrong, but like the point of the game is like all of that pain, all of that tribulation, all of that guilt, she had to let it go.
Yeah.
um and it's really powerful, because from what I've seen, the protagonist is clearly troubled, but is trying to, without any kind of support system whatsoever, aside from the knowledge that some people, like again her partner, loved her,
Mm-hmm.
that she's having to work through all of this on her own. And she displays a remarkable strength and kind of ingenuity.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's a heavy game with a lot to unpack, and I would actually say, unless this is an issue you want to unpack, if you're struggling with like just the climate right now, wait until you're in a really good place to sit down
Yeah.
and play it. It's
Definitely.
There's a lot there,
Yeah, I
but
personally
it's
played it
beautiful.
when I was in a very dark place, so that was, my bad. But I really did not think that the game would have such an impact as it did. I thought, okay, it was going to, mention mental health a little bit, but the game is generally going to be a fantastical experience.
Yeah.
But I was wrong, because throughout the entire game, like one of the best things that they've done with the game is you constantly are hearing voices.
Yes.
So that's why at the start they tell you, please use sound surround headphones, because it's really important. You really hear like from all around you, like voices that keep telling you, turn back, you're never gonna succeed, you're a failure, you should just
Mhm.
kill yourself, and things like that. And also, all the enemies are representations of what people with actual psychosis see. So there was, for example, one level in which Senua was trying to escape a house that was on fire, and there was this like shadow that kept following her, and you had to run away as fast as possible so that the shadow wasn't didn't catch you. And after the game, you get a documentary of about 10 minutes where you see that the developers and the team behind the game were speaking with people who have psychosis in United
Mhm.
Kingdom. I'm not sure which hospital it was, but one of the patients there said, yes, I'm constantly seeing my room on fire and there are shadows everywhere and they're trying to kill me. So all of the experiences that you see in the game, like even the enemies that kind of look like, shadows with swords, those are all products of
Mhm.
psychosis. And basically the entire game is kind of trying to tell you this is not real. Like even Hela that said to Senua that she can save her boyfriend if she goes to hell, that wasn't Hela, that was just her brain
Yeah.
telling her lies. And yeah, the entire game is, I mean, they did not say it directly, but kind of like the last scene that you see is the world a little bit clearing up, and like seeing what actually is.
It's a
uh
sunrise
yeah,
specifically.
yeah, exactly. And but my favorite part was definitely at the end when they showed that 10-minute documentary about how they made the
Mhm.
game. Because like the game for the time, it was incredibly high tech. Like
Yes.
they had to use a lot of facial mapping technology, because it was really important that we can see Senua's face, like in pain, and just expressing her emotions. So yeah, and also like throughout the game, while you're going through the forest, you can see some people like being hanged from the trees, like shadows hang from the trees. And also one of the patients said that she keeps seeing people hanging in front of her, and like that is one of the like um hallucinations that she keeps seeing.
Right.
So yeah, they were trying to, in a fantastical way, represent what is reality for so many people that are suffering from this on a
Mhm.
daily basis.
And for me, that's the most powerful part of the entire project, that it takes this state, right? This series of afflictions, these horrible, horrible afflictions,
Mm-hmm.
and it attempts to represent them in a way that engenders empathy in
Yeah.
players. Sorry, not empathy. Uh, Almost like pseudo sympathy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We want to show you as close as we can, while still remaining both respectful and presenting an
Mm-hmm.
entertainment product, what this is like.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why they ask you to put headphones on. We want you to feel this. We want
Yeah.
you to see this. We want you to hear this. And that, I think, what was so special about Hellblade and the way it was received was it engendered so much empathy. People were like,
Mm-hmm.
"Huh, I don't understand exactly what that's like. I never
Yeah.
can. But this has helped me to contextualize other people's experiences," right? That's what so many
Mm.
reviews had to say.
Yeah, yeah. Well, basically, I played the game on stream, and I even watched like the documentary at the end on stream.
Hmm.
And I remember that somewhere throughout, like towards the end of the documentary, I just had to shut down the stream because I started feeling so bad. I
Hmm.
literally went to bed and started crying because I felt all the pain that those people were talking about. Like it was presented in such a way that it really gets to you. That's why we said at the start that, if you're not in a good state of mind, don't play this game.
Please don't. Yeah, it's very dark.
Yeah. But let's move on to a little bit of more happier games. Psychonauts.
Yes, Lord. Tim Schafer's magnum opus, the cult hit platformer for, I want to say it was released on PS2, Xbox, maybe not GameCube, but PS2 and Xbox, that sounds right. Um, Anyhow, it received acclaim for its lovely cast of characters and character interactions. Tim Schafer and Double Fine, worked with LucasArts for the longest time on adventure games back in the
Hmm.
day, so they really know how to write wacky, zany characters and all of that. And its beautiful environments, with each of the game's major stages taking place inside the mind of a major character, represented as a landscape that reflects right like their personality and
Hmm.
their maybe their interests, their experiences, looking and feeling and sounding so different. It really embraced the kind of diversity in audiovisual design that I crave.
Hmm.
Psychonauts, to be clear, is a simple little action platformer, but a very, very good one. Easily one of the best games I've ever played, if I'm just to provide you with my own subjective experience.
Hmm.
But here's what makes it special and what makes it germane to today's episode for me. Psychonauts, and this is not my original thought, I've read other people describe this online. Psychonauts is designed in just such a way that even though its main narrative and most of the characters are very comical and lighthearted, it engenders that same style of empathy, of understanding someone else through exploration, through world building, through player interactions, in this case, the other characters in the game. I'm going to give just a couple of quick examples. Spoilers for a game that's like going on 2 decades old, but
Yeah.
um, the second to last stage of the game, and probably my personal favorite, is Black Velvetopia. The back half of the game and all of its stages take place in a rundown asylum, and most of the stages take place within the minds of the last few people held there, right? Black Velvetopia is the mind of masterful artist Edgar Tegley, who has been attempting to create a beautiful portrait for years and years, but can't seem to get it out because no matter what he does, he ends up creating like very jarring portraits of the same neon bull over and over and over again, which has caused him horrific anger issues.
Mm-hmm.
When you enter his mind, you see that it's the only stage in the entire game that does this. The entire stylistic basis of like the game's visuals changes. The
Mm-hmm.
characters are all done with neon highlights on largely black or dark backgrounds. The sky and the sea or and the floor are these bright pastel colors, and you have to navigate this winding, vaguely like late medieval Spanish city,
Mm-hmm.
beset by the very same neon bull, El Odio. And you have to collect cards that Edgar can use to create a massive castle to the sky to rescue his muse, this woman who's trapped in the sky by El Odio. Doesn't make any
Mm-hmm.
sense, right?
Yeah, it
Um,
sounds like a fantastical kind of story.
right. And to gain these cards, you have to battle luchadors, different like animal themed luchadores who are again all over the top and played for comic effect. They've got like special moves and all of this that they
Mm-hmm.
call, and the whole stage seems very lighthearted, right?
Yeah.
Um until you start cracking open his vaults. See, every character in the game has two vaults, little collectibles that you can find that represent that character's memories that they wanted to lock away or didn't want other people to see. And in Edgar's, we see that before he was an artist, he was like this superstar athlete, this wrestler on his college team.
Mm-hmm.
And he was getting ready to like, launch into this wonderful athletic career in college. And
Yeah.
that's the end of the first vault. And you reach the fourth luchador right around the same time, and in a nasally massive guy, right, like this massive like hulking masked wrestler, but in a nasally somewhat juvenile voice, he, instead of communicating to the player's avatar, starts taunting Edgar, saying how weak, how pathetic he was, how he let himself get thrown off just before like this major competition, this major meet. And the last wing of the stage, if you explore everything, is like this rundown series of corridors in that represent like a stereotypical American high school down in the sewers. So
Mm-hmm.
we can see that a lot of what's haunting Edgar has nothing at all to do with the bull. He's been carrying like childhood trauma on his back for ages. And when you crack the second vault, you see that like this other like up and coming athlete courted Edgar's girlfriend away from him just before like his big match or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
He flopped because he was so, I guess, just
Heartbroken. Yeah.
yeah, and his career was effectively ruined, and he can't deal with it.
Point of the
And
story: don't have girlfriends. They ruin
no,
everything.
no, you make it to the end of the stage and have to partner with this bullfighter to bring down El Odio, only to realize that El Odio was Edgar's like depiction of himself.
Mm-hmm.
That he was rampaging needlessly. He had a lot of anger he honestly didn't need. And the
Basically,
bullfighter and Muse represent Edgar's girlfriend and the other athlete, right?
I mean,
Eh,
audio in Italian means hate. So
yes,
yeah.
yes. There's this really powerful moment with empathy, though, because again, this whole stage, even the conceit is kind of silly, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's this guy who's meant to be kind of like middle aged, late middle aged, who's been carrying like trauma with him from high school all through
Right.
life, and
Mm-hmm.
he's just trying to make a damn painting, right?
Yeah.
But after a second boss fight against the bullfighter, against this other athlete, um the athlete and the muse break their characters and start speaking as they did in high school, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's this touching moment between the protagonist and Edgar, who is just totally worn down by his own demons at this point. This little guy, Raz, the protagonist, who's meant to be 11 or 12, like looks over at the high school kind of figments
Mm-hmm.
and says, "Look at them, Edgar. They're pathetic. They've not changed," something to that effect. And like I always remember this because it's the most touching moment in the game to me. He says, "They can't hurt you anymore."
Mm-hmm.
And Edgar's able to finally phase out those demons and understand that he's not trapped there anymore. It's kind of a powerful moment buried in what, again, is this fantastical, happy game. Now, the
Yep.
other moment, and this is much shorter, but it's the one most people remember, is Mia Vidello's secret. I don't know if you guys are too familiar with the game,
I
but
have not played it, no.
I have played
one
it.
of the instructors at this like psychic summer camp the first half of the game takes place in is legendary mesmerist Mia Vidello, who is like this master of like psychic the manipulation of psychic energy. She
Mm-hmm.
teaches you how to levitate and kind of glide and all these cool things in a great big obstacle course themed after a 70s dance club and with visuals inspired by the music video from for Delight's Grooves in the Heart. She's happy and extraordinarily kind, unlike just about every other instructor at the summer camp, and kind of infantilizes all of her students. She treats them like they're very small children, right? But she wants everybody to like enjoy her mental landscape and party and have fun with her. Um, and as far as you can tell, she doesn't have any secrets. Unless in this massive vertical chamber that serves as a tutorial for the glide function, where you can, like, levitate over little updrafts
Mm-hmm.
and gain altitude, like kind of Banjo Kazooie. You land on this little tiny balcony that's tucked far out of the way, about halfway up the wall, and enter this completely threadbare room where Mia, who is not physically present, her projection is at the end of the stage, like starts begging you essentially to leave. Like she says, there's no party in here, sweetie. Come on back out. Rejoin us. I promise you, there's nothing for you in there. And the room is threadbare aside from this massive chest, like a toy chest, and a bunch of children's toys,
Mm-hmm.
and the vault. And if you open the vault, you'll uncover the secret that hit most Psychonauts players the hardest when they discovered it because of how well it contrasted with this happy character and the happiest, brightest level in the game, right? It's Mia's memories prior to her becoming an active psychic, like psychic agent, of, I believe, running or working at an orphanage and caring for all of these children who are like her family and who perished in a fire, like this freak fire, while she was out one day. And since she's psychic in universe, her being able to hear them,
Mm-hmm.
and it's heavy. But that's not all. There's the chest, which opens up if you strike it to reveal this portal ringed by hellish light. And if you jump inside, you're taken to this completely otherwise pointless little caged in area, this massive inferno with demons representing nightmares, which are fought as mini bosses later on in other stages, like constantly like whispering recriminations to Mia and asking like why she let them die.
Mm-hmm.
It's horrible, and it's so effective. The entire game works like this, with both brighter and darker moments like the one I just shared, to demonstrate to the player that by exploring, by making your way through these mental worlds, you're experiencing the life experiences of these other characters. And you're able to see in the environments what they want others to see or know about them, and through the vaults or little secrets tucked out of the way, also what they don't want people to see
Mm-hmm.
or what they don't want to say about themselves. The game does a masterful job of engendering empathy, thusly, by encouraging you, the player, to, well, step into the mind of somebody else with a different neurotype or with different experiences. And even though the adventures are for the most part very lighthearted and comical and kind of fun and wholesome, there's certainly an element of gravity to a lot of them, like
Mm-hmm.
how someone was able to juggle their feeling of success with the sense that one of their parents absolutely despised them for it, or how someone was able to go a bit too far when it came to creating a structured and orderly mind, or even as simple as people just not getting over experiences
Mm-hmm.
or conflicts they had or weren't able to have when they were children. The game does a masterful job of that, then not exactly telling you a story or a moral, but showing it to you through exploration. So why I wanted to bring Psychonauts to the fore, beyond the fact that people have like continually cited it as a game that engenders empathy for its cast and for its world building, is because empathy was a cornerstone of the game's design from the outset. Tim Schafer has shared on numerous occasions that a single question, like offered to colleagues or from colleagues at like just a working lunch one day, served as the inspiration for the entire project. And do you know what that question was?
Mm-mm.
What color is the sky in your world?
Oh.
How do other people see and experience and understand the world? And how different must each of our perspectives look based on where we've been, who we are, what we do, and how beautiful it must be or would be to be able to experience as many of those different perspectives as like worlds in a game. It's beautiful, it's poignant, it's a game with more heart than almost any other I've ever played, and I'm so excited for the sequel.
Mm-hmm. So, Potato, if I remember correctly, you also played that game, right?
Oh yeah. If yeah, a mutual friend of ours actually recommended it to me.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Remember we went to college together with him. But
Oh, the one that shall not be named anymore?
yes, never again.
Okay. Okay.
Uh but yeah, I actually like, oh, how old was I then? Like 19, 20, 19-ish.
9, 10, I think
Yeah,
we
I
were.
I
Yeah.
actually like did not understand the depth of the game as
Hmm.
I do now, and especially now that you've explained it even further. But I did love the game. It was like really unique in just like the,
Yes.
the the very like concept of the game
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
everything. But really
So,
nice game. Also excited for the sequel.
Yeah,
mhm.
and just in case our audience again just kind of wants this general content warning, Psychonauts, aside from it never gets any heavier than Mia's Secret. Most of the game is again lighthearted, really like bouncy, colorful action. You could easily play that one right now if you're dealing with quarantine as we all are, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
Right, Potato? Like,
Yep. Yeah, it's not a very dark game at its core.
So, let us switch over to a bit more of a personal experience. So, when you guys are feeling especially down, like something is, I don't know, not going the way that you want it to go, maybe something happened in your life, is there a specific game that you like turning to? A specific game that you think can lift your spirits up and let you forget about your problems for at least a moment?
Can I start?
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it's not very much like a specific game. I mean, at one point, it was World of Warcraft
Mm-hmm.
mhm.
because I've been playing for that game for like was 15, 16 years now. But it's not so much the game as like the fact that it's a multiplayer game that you are supposed to play with like a community and not on
Mm-hmm.
your own.
Yeah.
And for me, it's just like, just going and just going out of your own world into something else like the game world and playing with friends. or meeting new friends,
Mm-hmm.
just helps a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Like just connecting with people.
Yeah.
Yep. You, Brady?
Yeah, so like Mate, I don't really have one game in particular. I don't tend to replay a lot of games,
Mm-hmm.
oddly enough. But as people who might be hearing this and are familiar with either of our streams probably know by now, I had a really, really fortunate upbringing in a lot of ways, but I also had this really rough patch because, well, I was homeschooled, and the only real interaction I had with others was with very ardent, kind of exclusionary fundamentalists, and
Mm-hmm.
that's just not the best thing for a child, I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I went through this really, really bad period regarding self image and just overall, I guess, happiness and contentment from around the time I was 13 to the time I was probably right around 16.
Mm-hmm.
And, well, really, really bad, like 14 to 16. And I remember just before I started college at 16, which was like it opened so many doors for me. It was this wonderful process for me. There was this year, right? Kind of just this lame year where I was like just bull rushing through the rest of my credits,
Mm-hmm.
but just hanging out at home. And I remember so vividly to like just escape and get away from everything. I would spend evenings listening to like our local R&B radio with the Christmas tree plugged in. Our Christmas tree was up like 3 months out of the year, always. Um, and playing Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, trying to like
Oh.
complete it, do
Mm-hmm.
everything. And let me tell you, I don't particularly like the Assassin's Creed games. That one's always going to have a special place in my heart for two reasons. One, it did kind of shepherd me through a considerable period, about a month and a half of that difficult time. And two, boat. Like, just if game has boat, game is better.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, I'm thinking like feel good comfort food games. Increasingly, like the Yakuza series or anything
Mm-hmm.
else that studio produces, they're insanely well made, punchy action RPGs with some really good key plot and character writing, and a lot of legitimately charming humor.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the Kingdom Hearts series, if I'm feeling kind of down, they're really good for just a quick little pick me up.
Yeah.
Or let me see what else is there anything else I've returned to or that I play frequently on the now thankfully rare occasions when I feel that down. Honestly, for a good period there, I want to say Dark Souls 2 as well,
Mm-hmm.
like the tail end of that period. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, kind of diverse and not much of a rhyme or reason to any of it, but those were games that have personally helped me. I don't know if they would do the same for anybody out there. I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
think anybody nowadays would be like, "Man, I'm having a horrible day. I know what'll make it better: Assassin's Creed." Um, but there you have it. What about you, Tana?
Well, I have actually quite similar experience as Mate as well. So usually when I'm feeling down, I turn to MMOs because I need this feeling of being a part of a community,
Hmm.
like being a part of something that is bigger than myself, that is
Right.
not just me with my problems, but there is, more people out there, people that I can talk to, etc. And
Sure.
being a shut-in and generally an introvert, I don't really enjoy spending that much time with people in real life. But like coincidentally, I actually like spending time on the internet with a lot of people for longer periods of time, which is weird. Um, but yeah, so usually when I was younger, I would play any sort of Korean grindfest MMO where I could find a guild that I can where I can have people to talk to. During
Mhm.
college, I was actually quite addicted to Guild Wars 2 for a while, for the
Yeah.
same reason, because I was so overworked because I was working and doing college work at the same time. So, basically, I was depressed and overworked and stressed, everything at the same time. So, Guild Wars 2 was my outlet. But there is one game that is my comfort food, that I turn to every time, like lately at least, when I have a rough period and I just need to let loose a little bit. So
Right.
instead of turning to alcohol or some weird shit out there, what I do is I play Borderlands 2.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh,
that is my game to let loose. Just mindlessly shoot people. Not even like playing the story itself. Just like doing challenges or trying to discover things or clearing the
just
maps.
keeping your hands busy, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I completed, like 100% completed the game. I think 3 times, like with 3 different characters. So
Mhm.
found every achievement, found every hidden thing, like every rare boss, etc. I just really love that game. So yeah, for me that was the thing. But as you said, like nowadays, thankfully, I don't have that many like depressive periods or periods where I'm like very down. Mostly thanks to our community, because
Same here. Yeah.
yeah, like I find it so fascinating that like a really silly thing that started as a hobby, like streaming for 1 to 2 people
Hmm.
max, managed to gather so many nice and kind-hearted people that we managed to put into the same server, and that we are talking about silly things, we are talking about serious things, we are with each other on Discord every evening chatting about nothing serious, like how was your day, just like a simple question that
Right.
sometimes means so fucking much when you've had a hard day. And I find that's amazing. And actually, ever since we started hanging out more in the Discord and like playing more games together, streaming all together, I did not have the need to be playing MMOs anymore, because I don't need
Wow.
that social interaction anymore, so I can just freely finish all the single player games that are waiting for me in my library that I have never touched, like that I bought when I thought that I have nothing to play and then never opened, because I can just chat with people and play single player games now.
That is so powerful, Tina. Thank you for sharing. I actually feel the same way, right?
Mm,
I just for reference, and because like all of you guys in the audience need to know, right? I really started streaming on Twitch like regularly because of the pandemic, right? Because I had to, like you guys with the MMOs, I had to connect with someone
yeah.
somehow. And I thought, hey, this is a thing I'm passionate about, and people do. I can't possibly be worse than insert big name streamer here. Um, and I was fortunate enough to be welcomed into this wonderful community with open arms. And now, yeah, we interact with each other and we help each other, like with hobbies
Yeah.
predominantly. Left, right, and center. We are a community. We are in contact. We are a unit collectively, all of us. So
Mm-hmm.
I too have found this, aside from work, which is difficult just because of the remoteness, right?
Yeah, of course.
Uh, I've found the pandemic since I connected with you guys to be so much easier to endure, and I just don't know what state I would have been in had it not been for you guys and for all of you out there in the audience. So this is the point.
Mm-hmm.
I want to take this opportunity to all of you out there listening, whether you're an active participant in our Discord or streams, or you just follow the podcast, however you happen to engage with us.
Mm-hmm.
I want to take the time personally to thank you for making my past year, for making my life so much better. I am so honored that you guys would take the time, and Tina and Mate, you guys too, to take the time to engage with me in these fora. It means the world, and it's done the world for me. So
Hey, it's a pleasure to be engaged with you. Uh,
Um, wording.
uh, uh, yes. Anywho, what about you, Potato? Now you have to say that also you love all of us and that that it means a world to you. Otherwise, you're gonna sound like a piece of shit.
I'm sorry. I don't feel love. I feel varying degrees of hate, and I hate you guys the least.
there we go. That'll do.
And that's one angry potato,
Oh yeah, mad potato.
He's a
mad
steamed
potato.
potato.
Ooh.
Right. So yeah, this is basically some sort of a call to action. Like if you guys are feeling down, especially because of the pandemic, you enjoy video games and you really want to connect to someone, feel free to reach out to us, join us either in our
Yes.
streams or discords, email, whatever you want. And you are gonna be welcomed here, like no matter how messed up you are. Because trust me, we're all messed up, so you're
Oh,
gonna fit right
absolutely.
in. Um, do you have any other games that are worth mentioning, like maybe either as a guilty pleasure kind of thing when you're feeling down, or maybe something like as a suggestion to people what to play when they are feeling down?
I don't know. Like, not don't laugh at me.
Yeah, I'm gonna laugh at you.
I know I laugh at myself as well. But Minesweeper.
Really?
Yeah. Sometimes when I'm like, I don't feel like doing anything. I'm just like, I have to do something to not just fall into a coma.
Mm-hmm.
I'll play it like half an hour of Minesweeper just to keep my
You know,
mind active.
yeah, when I was a teenager, well, not a teenager, a preteen, and I had a really hard time because I was getting bullied on a daily basis. My guilty pleasure was Tetris.
Oh,
I
nice.
was playing Tetris all day long with just music. So I would I think that at that time I started listening to metal like actively, and my first band was Hammerfall. So I would be listening to Hammerfall on repeat over and over again and just playing Tetris for the entire day.
Oh, you didn't listen to the Tetris song?
Okay.
The
No.
fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah, I think it was because it wasn't like the original Tetris. It was something called like Boxers or
Oh,
something like
oh,
that.
that's lame. If it's not na 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 na,
If it's not the
I
Russian
forgot the
thing,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, the
yeah.
one. Yes, we all know the one.
Wait, so were you playing Tetris then, or were you playing like an early alpha build of Immortal Unchained? I don't.
Cyberpunk version 1.0. No, no, it was like, yeah,
But
a crappy Tetris.
Seth actually reminded me of something I wanted to ask Brady. So you were
Sir,
homeschooled, right?
that's correct.
So how does that work? Like, who bullies you and takes your lunch money? Do your parents have to take
Well,
turns, or do you not have that?
sometimes. No, no, it's all about being a self-starter. You have to do it yourself.
Oh, self-bullying
Oh,
in the
that's
mirror.
lame.
No. Again, I like twice a week for the better part of that time, at least twice a week, would go to what they call like a co-op, which is a bunch of classes being taught by some parents and some pseudo credentialed instructors. And
Mm-hmm.
we had that there, don't worry. Um I told you up to the point of like the quote unquote director of the school, when I was in recruited by another student to like help organize a student council,
Mm-hmm.
um telling my family like gleefully that she was going to essentially frame me for violations of school policies that didn't exist. She did not say this, but I know this is the reason why. Because like people had been asking like my opinion on various political things, and I was honest with them that hey, I don't like guns. A woman should have the choice to do what she wishes with her body or
How dare
reproductive
you?
system, things like that. Right. So like yeah, there was bullying, but it was not the kind that you guys are used to. It was
Like,
far more indirect. It was it these people, at least the people I was around, had this horrible aversion to direct conflict,
mm-hmm.
but they also, much as you described Potato, had varying degrees of hate or fear for more or less everything.
I'm kind of happy I experienced only like physical bullying because that would have messed me up.
They fought like Ewoks, you see. You never actually saw them.
Okay, Brady, you're the last one left.
Okay, so games I would recommend.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so two things. One, I would always recommend, and this is, I think, largely just because I really tend to enjoy this type of game, but character interaction or definition rich RPGs.
Mm-hmm.
Oh god, I totally forgot two games that helped me through like the rough patch. How the fuck could I forget this? Mass Effect and Dragon Age.
Ah,
Um,
okay.
um, as well as I would honestly recommend if you want to see good representations of more mundane, like psychological, personality based or mental health, not exactly struggles, just people navigating these things, play like the Persona series from 3
Mm-hmm.
on,
Mm-hmm.
because so much of the game is dedicated to these really heartwarming character studies and interactions, oftentimes with entire quest lines based around issues as, you know, commonplace as everyday
Mm-hmm.
as somebody not feeling like they're living up to their family's legacy or someone struggling with their identity. And they're
Yeah.
usually handled really respectfully in a way that's heartwarming and makes you cheer for the characters. It's good, 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 good stuff if you can stomach the kind of repetitious RPG gameplay.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But yes, games that helped me personally, more or less the entire BioWare catalog, everything after they got on console. Um, because I think in games like that, like Pillars of Eternity, we've talked about this on this podcast before, how much I like games where you can
Mm-hmm.
define your character and make choices based on like your stats or get different outcomes based on your choices.
Yeah.
It felt good, especially for me right then in that place, to feel like or have the experience of being a real agent out in the world, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, the choices that I make can matter and they
Yeah.
can be beneficial, and I can be this hero if I put the work in. That sounds kind of silly, it sounds juvenile, but there is kind of a really rewarding escapism in games like that, I think. Feeling like your choices and the decisions you make do matter,
Mm-hmm.
especially given the place I was in. They're great stories, they're great systems. I want to say, even though they're not my favorite games of all time, probably, I have played the Mass Effect games, like Mass Effect 2 in particular, more than any other franchise. Um, and it has a very, very near and dear place to my heart. But the second thing, I would advise any of our friends out there in the audience, if, like right now, and keep in mind, I think we probably should have prefaced the episode with this. None of us are mental health
Oh
professionals.
no, no,
We're,
definitely. We're
um,
just cray. That's it.
yes, and if you feel as though you are under serious mental duress or anything like that, please feel free to seek professional consultation or help. Resources are plentiful and available for free online. Like, you can get connected with someone. But if you're just looking for games to help take the edge off, I would say this: as great as a lot of single player experiences can be, um, and I am overwhelmingly a single player guy. Right now, in this time, in this moment, make sure you also make allowances for reaching out to other people through multiplayer games or just connecting with other people in your life, over the phone or what have you, over Zoom. I know, I hate it too. Um, don't let your escapism or your indulgence engender a habit of extreme, like kind of retreat from the world, because trust me, it's easy to get there.
Mm-hmm.
Don't overindulge, and remember to diversify yourself in your experience, I
Like with
guess.
everything.
That's all I have. Sorry.
No, no, that's fine. I think we can just give the closing words, and that should be it. I feel like this episode we don't need to stretch it too much because we need to get the point across.
Okay. Who would like to go first?
I guess I can just start by saying, like, yeah, as I mentioned a couple of times, if you ever feel like you need to talk to, your fellow game enthusiasts or just,
Mm-hmm.
bunch of great people, our Discords, emails, YouTube channel, everything is open for you to contact us through. Other than that, like, please take care of yourself in this very, very horrible time. It's not easy for anyone, especially people that are generally um, like depression prone. So yeah, make sure that you are taking proper precautions. Don't suck it up until it passes, because
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
that's not a good idea. Never. Don't be afraid to ask for help, and make sure to do what you enjoy doing, whether it's video games or maybe just, I don't know, spending an entire weekend just reading one book. That's also
Yeah.
fine.
Mate?
I'll just repeat part of what Martina said. Like, don't be afraid to ask for help. Uh, some people might laugh at you, but fuck those people. Like the whole,
Mm-hmm.
just as long as you get help, that's all that matters, and then you can get the last laugh.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. I have little to add, save, again, to thank you all for lending us your ears today, and to invite all of us to reflect on the various ways in which entertainment or media or these things that we think are largely for fun, and I don't get it wrong, overwhelmingly they are, and that's a beautiful thing, have made such a positive, lasting impact on all of us. Today we discussed something that's very serious and I think very personal for all of us, and the ways in which, let's call them what they are, in which toys have helped us not just cope, but maybe overcome some rather unsavory situations. Remember that there is beauty in the world all around you, even in the mundane, and that something as simple as a television show or a film, a video game, a novel, a podcast, hey,
Mm-hmm.
can be impactful. So I guess if I have a takeaway point that I'd like everyone to walk away with, it's this. You never know how what you're going to put out into the world is going to affect somebody else or their life. And the smallest, most inconsequential interaction, act of charity, of kindness, recognition of empathy, of acknowledgement, right? Um, can drastically change someone's day or someone's life. So never doubt that you, in all that you do and in all that you are, matter and have limitless potential to enrich and enlighten, uplift the lives of those around you, just as they do for you.
Yep. And also, don't worry, next episode is gonna be a bit lighthearted. We're not all, just
Oh no, yeah,
bummed
me,
out.
me and Mate have something very special
Oh
for
yeah,
next
we're
week.
shitting on someone new next week.
Yeah,
Ay, ay.
but we're selling you the episode now.
Yeah.
We might deliver it next week, we might not.
Oh, dear God.
All right. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us for this rather serious episode. We have to get one in every now and again. And
Every
I
now and then.
invite you to follow us here, wherever you are hearing this episode, whether it's on Spotify, Google Podcasts, iTunes, or our new YouTube channel. Please feel free to follow us. The podcast will be updated most weeks around midweek with another brand new installment for you. As Martina said, feel free to make use of our website or Discords to get in touch with us if you have any substantial feedback, questions, comments, or suggestions for future episodes. And because this is something new we're rolling out gradually, be sure to stop by and subscribe to that YouTube channel, as we're going to be uploading stream VODs as well as a few other new projects there in the forthcoming months, as well as the podcast episodes. That'll be your one-stop shop for everything from this network on demand. Until next time, thank you all so much for joining us. My name is Brady, or the Overanalyst, joined as always by my good friends Martina, or Seth the Overwitch,
Goodbye, everyone.
and Mate, or Comrade Potato.
Bye.
Wishing you a wonderful rest of your day. Goodbye.